we will continue the discussion. We have the one problem because of the next speaker, Dr. Staff. He mistook that his time is around the 4 o'clock. So we have the 40 minutes or 50 minutes discussion to be continued. So before that second speaker. So it's better to have the free brainstorming discussion at this moment. So shall we continue? If the English or Japanese, so there are some attendants from his laboratory, the Japanese, so we can share Japanese and English all together. Okay? So please continue the free discussion and the free advice.
I will try to speak English. I have ideas for using the drones to the commerce industries. How about why don't we use drones for the advertising? Because I think it's really difficult in this moment for use it for transportations. Bring something from A point to B point because there are a lot of rules or technical issues. But the drone can fly so easily. So and in Japan, so there are lots of crowded places like Shibuya in front of the Shibuya stations. The advertising fee is really high in that point. But I think there are a lot of spaces in the sky. And I think it's really, how to say, cheap price. I don't know. I don't know who owns the spaces, but I think the drone with something like a signboard or like a advertisement. This is just idea.
So when I work in my office in Chiyodaku, sometimes I see a Zeppelin passing by, I think MetLife, that's what it says. So in the drone, I think that's a very cool idea. Of course, if you can also solve the problem of the limit battery life, because if it's a stable position, you can just put a tether, yeah, like a little cable, so that the drone can be fed continuously. And it can stay there forever. I mean, they use the technology, for instance, for bridge inspection. You know, if you want to inspect the bridge, you just have to stay there for a long time. Advertisement, yeah. So also, I think Disney, right? Disney, like Disneyland, they use the drone to manipulate a huge creature, like with certain degrees of freedom, yeah. So maybe the arm is lifted by a drone and things like this. But this idea of advertisement sounds very, very appealing. So yeah, maybe no problem, because if it's just, if you know the ground space, and then it would be legally above the ground space, and it's not falling off, and yeah, maybe the little wind has to counteract. And also you can adjust the height. And also you can investigate the reaction with the camera, yeah? Yeah, because I think, so previously I worked in a little different field. It was about using biosensors to estimate interest and attention. And we used the sensors to understand how people are thinking. Also, I used the eye tracking and pupil dilation, so I could follow where the person is looking, so I can understand what the person is thinking. Yeah. So in a case of advertisement for the drone, also when the people are looking, we can identify how long they are looking, or or when they are not looking, something like this. So we can understand the potential customer, maybe.
In this moment, so in the internet, the IT advertisement is really big market in this moment.
Right.
The advantage point for these kind of things is they can understand the influence or effect for the advertisement, and they can count the effect, and they can feedback the results to the client.
That's
such kind of
Right. Yeah. Of course. I mean, it's not a secret that Google with the advertising, it's like printing money. They just print money with the advertisement, and why is it so successful? Because every movement they can they record, and they have many people, and how are they reacting to this, and they can make a A/B testing, do something, you know, leave it out, how it affects to the conversion rate from looking at something and clicking there, and similar with the drone. Yeah, that's maybe that's a very, I like the idea because it's very straightforward. I just need a company who wants to be advertised, yeah, and this cannot be so difficult. Yeah. Interesting, thank you. That's good. That's good.
To reduce the crush risk.
Crash risk, right?
Yes. So even if we take the example on the ground, like the traffic system, there is still a lot of kind of accident there.
Right.
So the same thing could also, like, let's say the same management of these accidents on the ground can be used for this drone system also, I think. Like we can build some kind of emergency or crash alarm system in the drone, kind of to build an extra engine in it for the case of emergency, and this engine can bring the drone to a safe place, and then you just send another, I don't know, ambulance or policeman drone to this crash drone, and pick it up and go back to the depot. Right. Like or you can build some. I don't know, like parachute.
Yeah, you said exactly.
Right. So it is no risk anymore for this traffic system or for the ground.
That's correct. So
that might be a very good point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is, I think, when we talk about the drone makers in Japan, they have two types of drones. One is the industrial drone, and the other drone is the drone for the government. So actually the drone for the government literally has a parachute coming with it, because the government shouldn't make a mistake, right? So that's why if the drone goes down, there's a fail-safe mechanism, so the parachute opens, so the drone comes down very slowly. Not that they are doing it. It's not part of the consumer drones, but it is for the governmental drone. That's an interesting example, right?
And additional to that, assuming that this emergency system works, and then because you can persuade the government to not to build a restricted, like in-air railway system. So then you don't need to care about anything in the air, which means you can fly any route you want. So in that case, for the vehicle routing problem, which means you can reduce the problem of minimizing the costs to minimizing the flying time, right?
Right, absolutely.
That will be a point-to-point flying route.
Right.
So in that case, if you just optimize your autonomous avoidance system in your drone, then you just only need to calculate the flying time from your depot and take just the shortest path, which is the linear route.
Right, that's correct. So I think although it makes sense what you say, maybe still the government says exactly where they don't want to have the drone to fly. And there's actually a company, it's called Blue Innovation, maybe because it's innovation in the sky, a Japanese company. And last year at the expo, they showed me a map, and they show the areas where I am not allowed to fly. So I said, it's nice, but this is not very innovative, is it? So we are thinking about ways to extend it. And you know, in the air, there may be other factors. It's the shortest path. Okay, the shortest path is actually a good example. Okay, even if it's legally possible, you can say the shortest path from A to B should be the optimal one. However, at the same time, you have many environmental factors. let's say on the way from A to B, there would be a strong wind. Then the drone is kind of weak against the wind. So if there are so many sensors anyway already, and the drone is another sensor, if we identify there's a wind here, maybe we circumvent this area. So it's a little similar to car-to-car communication. So for instance, if in a car, if it's implemented, so if the frontal car senses a slippery road, it could communicate this information to the following car, so the car knows it. So of course, what you say is perfectly fine, but I maybe as a governmental program, they always say the zero fatality society, or we make it to zero. But maybe it's just they like to hear it, but they don't really believe it. Yeah. So in the car case, yeah. So I'm not sure, but the point to have a fail-safe mechanism, I think, is very important.
Thank you. So speaking to this problem, I'm so sorry for taking the time. Now and I were discussing about this point, weather. So how do you think about the problem of weather? So is it possible to offer a weather-limited contract to your customers, which means that only with good weather, in good weathers, you deliver the parcels, but in rainy weather and rainy days and so on, where the demand is also not so high, you just keep your drones in your factory?
So I don't have a business background really, yeah? So that's why it's difficult to answer. Well, okay, so of course, one thing is also true. So for instance, if you want to measure the wind turbulence at Tokyo Station, right? You need a supercomputer, like a K computer. There's a supercomputer in Japan, it's called K computer, because there are so many ways that the dynamics is so complicated. On the other hand, if you go more up in the sky, actually, the weather becomes more simple, actually. So it was not your question, but I just remember this. Yeah, this is non-linear phenomena, but the more up it gets very predictable. As to the business side, I mean, the only thing I can reproduce is the common knowledge about the Uber. Yeah, it has been on the news. So, for instance, for New Year or other such events, suddenly there's a surge in the price, right? It just becomes more expensive. So, in your case, if it's limited to certain weather conditions, there are still drones who can fly in this weather condition, but maybe it's a different drone. Yeah? So the notion of my drone net and also the computational framework behind it has, of course, not only the distance, but also the battery life and other methods. So that's where you really need the automation and mathematical framework to get the perfect drone for each place. So also Uber sounds like easy, right? But what Uber spends money in is, since they have all the cars, they know the movement of each car. And based on the movement on the car, they can infer the traffic condition in the city. And based on the traffic condition, they can tell precisely which driver is closest to you, not in terms of the Euclidean distance, but in terms of the actual driving situation to go to the customer. So there are tons of factors which you have to take into account. And again, so what I liked so much about the drones is it's basically a flying smartphone, and a smartphone has many sensors. So you can sense all kinds of things, including the temperature and wind and other things. So based on all this sensor information, you can very accurately calculate the environmental condition. And if you can accurately calculate the environmental condition, you can give a good suggestion on who should go where, practically. Yeah. So that's. So maybe I also have a question. So because I'm from the academic background, and as you know, in the research environment, the governmental funding shrinks more and more. Yeah? It becomes more competitive. So actually, as a research institute, we are more and more encouraged to reach out to the business world, or ideally we would have students who do some startups and make a company, but we have no experience actually. So you know, do you think this audience could recommend some? I just make a slide based on make a vision and hope someone buys into my vision. But to make it more precise, how would I appeal such kind of idea to a business audience or a venture audience?
So from the perspective of the business and startup business or some kind of the between the research and commercializing stage.
Right.
So any suggestions from regarding to, okay.
So I'm also involved in digital content development project at the Digital Harriet University in Ochanomizu. And in March, there's a conference called Japan Drone, and there's an award for creators. Because, so the creators are now we are trying to use drones to develop digital content.
Right.
Maybe so. Maybe ideas of creators and advertisers should be maybe integrated. This is my idea.
Right. Yes. So Japan Drone is a company?
It's a conference.
It's a company.
Makari Messe in this March.
Okay. So they make drones.
Yes. There's exhibition, and they are organizing a contest.
Oh, okay.
For startups.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good point, actually. Yes. So I have. He's not here today, but the guy you saw in the movie, he's from India, and in India, if you make a marriage, the drone is always there. Yeah, it's very important. So just today or yesterday in Japan Times, I read about the drone, and they say for the marriage, which is a big event in India, the drone is a one of the main components there. And so your point was more the creator space.
Yeah.
Creator space. So what I know, of course, like for movie taking, they use more and more drones because you can get to angles which are difficult to realize in other ways. So I'm not sure I really understood what the contest is about. So for instance, there is another contest organized by the United Arab Emirates, and it's called Drones for Good. So that you can submit your drone application, and they would select the application which is very useful. So I think one of the last year winner was the drone. There's a drone within a kind of sphere, a solid sphere. So the drone can go in the building and no problem to bump into the wall because it stays in the sphere. Yeah? It's like a ball going around, right? And it was a contest about the most clever idea. So also my laboratory joined the DJI contest. DJI is a Chinese drone maker, and they also select some good application. In case of Japan drones, I don't know what's the contest about. Is it just to make the interesting application, or is there a fixed goal and we have to achieve the goal?
What is they're creating short movies.
Creating a okay.
Using drone, colors from drone.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, okay. It's about filmmaking.
Yeah.
Okay. Filmmaking by drone, right?
So to develop films, they have to control drones.
Right, right. Oh, it's a kind of a content creation, right? Oh, yeah, so this is actually, yeah, my institute should be interested in that. That's interesting. Like, is it about the software, the tool to make interesting movies, or just make an interesting movie?
And the interesting thing is that most of our participants are non-technical person.
Non-technical person.
Creator, or designer.
Right. Can you give one example of an interesting concept?
So, actually, Australia is very active in supporting movie developing digital content using drone. And some of them, some of the startups are now in Hollywood.
Oh.
This is a strategy of Australian government to export their knowledge.
Oh, okay.
Because
movie-related activity?
Yes.
Okay. So there are lots of applications for including sports events.
Yeah, you're right. Yes.
So baseball, so you can watch from the ceiling.
Yeah.
So instead of ceiling, you can use the drone.
Yeah, so that's great. I mean, I think Sony was actually one of the earliest to have some interesting drone applications. So I think in Japan, people are very interested in playing golf. And sometimes I see people in front of the house, they make a move, right? And the drone is used to look at you. So the drone takes a video footage of you, and then you can look at your own the video where you performed playing the golf, and you can judge whether your move is good or not good. And also there are many like selfie sticks seem to be popular, and of course a drone is a kind of a nice selfie stick. So I have a student. He goes to scuba diving in Japan. He likes this. And when they go out with the ship, they have a drone following them. So he has a video footage of his scuba diving activity, and he can put it on the web. Yeah? So this is, I haven't been talking about those aspects really, like the whole entertainment market. But this is, so when we go to the drone expo, and I've been at a couple, actually the movie people have a strong presence. So what I noticed is that the drones used for movie business are huge because the payload, the camera is very heavy. It's a huge camera. So I say, why do you need such a huge drone? They say, because the camera is so heavy. But of course, maybe another thing you implied was that there could be a whole, how to say, for the Apple products, there's an app store, right? People are encouraged to write apps, and they can sell it. Do you imply that there would be such an ecosystem for making apps for movies, or just a movie? Just a movie, right. Interesting.
Any other? Regarding to your, you mentioned the deep learning or some kind of artificial intelligence, and huge calculation is required. So is it a real-time calculation on spot or some kind of delayed calculation?
There are two aspects. So in case of the drone, you can imagine it, there is a chip. It's actually like, just the previous slide, wasn't it? There would be this chip, NVIDIA, Tegra X1. This chip is on the drone. And then you have a ground station. The ground station is a very powerful computer, like a workstation or a server. So if you create the model, you need big data. You need a lot of data. So that the most famous example 2 years ago was using deep learning to learn how a cat looks and how a dog looks. So what they did is they just give YouTube videos into the machine and process all these, I mean, must be millions, billions of hours to create a model of a cat and a dog. But then this is offline processing. You have strong computers and you have a lot of time. Then the model is a kind of a compacted form, and then if you have a sensor input, in real time you recognize the object. So there are two phases. It's literally off-site processing, create a model, but then just use the model in order to recognize something in real time. So there are just two sides of it.
You said technologies are available
Right.
for that purpose.
Right.
But there should be the huge investment. For example, the ground station or the computer facility. That the investment is required. So
Yeah. So, but it's huge means. You mean in terms of money, so that the investment, well, I mean, now huge could mean if we have, depending on the complexity, but we are using, for instance, ground station for Yonjomayen. It's not so big investment. This is already, and that's, of course, you just win over time. What would have been a huge investment 5 or 10 years ago, now investment not so huge anymore, because even small, I mean relatively cheap processing can be very, very powerful.
Initially I assumed like a system like a mobile telephone company. So mobile device is available, but still we need a station and ground station to connect small stations. So
Yeah.
that kind of the network facility is required. That is my initial assumption.
It is. I mean, it's just maybe it's happening today already. So you have your mobile phone, and then usually the mobile phone is connected to some cloud service. I think we had a person of NTT Docomo here. It's the Mac. It's already in place. So you have your mobile phone. With your mobile phone, you take videos. You upload the video to the cloud or ground station or some server capacity. So if any big calculation is needed, it would be done in the cloud or ground station, and the result comes back. So the whole end and the networking, everything is in place actually already. So that's why it's possible to do it.
So the application to the military or security or police department or that kind of service, we can easily imagine how they use the drone. So government would provide a huge money for that purpose. But if you like the drone in the daily life of everybody, the students, so some kind of balance of some kind of cost and benefit, and some kind of investment, the profitability of the investment might be required.
I think maybe, of course, military police applications are clearly understood, but the military drones look like an airplane. The Prendinger, it's like an airplane. I don't know, it's 20 meters long. It's quite different from the drones we are using here, actually. So there are other applications which I didn't mention, but I think someone mentioned it on Saturday. So for instance, Facebook is very interested to get more users. Facebook has now approximately 1 billion users of this network social service, and they want to have more users, but there are many places in the real world where networking is not established. So what they do is they send a drone to Africa, and the drone spreads Wi-Fi. It's solar powered. It's just there going around and providing Wi-Fi, or India. And that was one of the worries, that for some, apparently, for some people, they don't say internet, as we say internet, they say Facebook. Because their first entry to the networked world is Facebook. And Facebook has the drones in the air, drone spreads network, and this is, of course, easy to understand. So this would be Facebook. There's also Google. Google is, of course, again, Google and Amazon want to make a delivery system, and maybe this makes many people nervous. And in China, Alibaba, they are doing it already, because in China, many things can be done quite easily. So even there are some legal obstacles in other places, like China, big retail, e-commerce, Alibaba is doing it already. He flies drones for delivery. And then there are these giga players like Google and Amazon who just want to step into this space. Yeah? So maybe my fear, if you want, is that waiting too long, they're going to do it. And maybe Amazon would do it in Japan, and then it's Amazon and not a Japanese company. So.
You sense that kind of a risk?
Yes, I sense the risk of not doing it. Because kind of we know it's coming, but we don't know exactly when it's coming. But usually if the players are big enough, they work it out.
In Japan, the main difficulty is who you should isolate and how do you isolate. So
yes, that's exactly so. Of course, I'm talking about the big delivery system, but maybe it's not me who makes the big delivery system. On the other, so maybe my problem is like I can make a simple step, make a simple experiment, but I need a next step. I have to level up. So the next step would be arranging with local government and making a realistic experiment. If I have a realistic experiment, then leveling up, a next step could be already a wider spread. So, of course, with a lot of collaborators.
That's why you come here.
Yes.
It's very difficult. And my suggestion is like this. The European government or some other government, including the United States and the European government, some of them are very aggressive. And also some companies you mentioned are very aggressive, commercialize this kind of activity. But a lot of people talk about the drone and IoT and big data in Japan right now. But the last year, it was the beginning, they started to talk about that. So you can ride on the tide of that kind of the movement, because that is a buzzword, drone and big data and IoT. So, but I think a lot of the company might be interested in attention. But you need a concrete experiment.
That's correct.
And to be commercialized in the near future. So it's better to establish that kind of a project by combining your research institute and some other universities and to do some kind of experiment. So that is a solution. Do you have that kind of
yeah, first as to the buzzwords, I mean, it's not like I'm jumping on a tide. It's more like the buzzwords come in and I just use them. Because I have been doing data analysis already with a lot of data before the term big data came around. I mean, we are connecting devices before the term IoT came around. In case of the drone, it's maybe a little different. I really got a personal, emotional connection to the drone. I just thought this is a really cool thing to do. The other universities, it's of course this is given. We collaborate with other universities, but the other universities don't make the situation better. I mean, one argument is, so for instance, we're in Tokyo, yeah. So if I'm in Tohoku, like Tohoku University, maybe local government Tohoku collaborates with Tokyo University, right? And the local governments more easily collaborate with some local universities. So in case of Tokyo, it's yeah, I don't have, I'm not in the local area in that.
So, please, okay. So one potential method is, this is a business to program, but that is open to any professional party, and that is a cross-discipline experiment or research and education. So you can use, set up, establish a small project. Before MBA student and the engineering student.
That's a very interesting general suggestion. So also we, I have no experience with it, but I'm very interested because also in Japan there are some venture capitalists, and you have to make a story or a narrative to them to convince them. And I don't have the experience how to do, but I plan to do, not with a clear vision of I succeed. Already I'm a professor, so if it fails, it's not so bad. So, but still very interested. So if we can collaborate with some student and make a more concrete plan, and maybe a more concrete plan can be more easily convincing to the local government or someone.
And you mentioned already the Indian experience of the remote health,
right?
Led by the Dr. Professor Sureshmana.
Right.
And he used to study this kind of the feasibility study 2 years ago here in this project.
Right.
Then he went back to India. Then he received a huge amount of the subsidy from the local government.
Right.
And his experiment is enlarged, and a big experiment is going on at this moment using the drones with delivery of the medical devices and drugs in India. So we can do that kind of the project for the Japanese and the Tokyo area study in this program. So that is my final suggestion.
Yeah, that's very good. So actually we have a joint grant proposals as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
はい、はい、どうもありがとうございました。
Initially, I asked him to speak at around 4 o'clock, but I adjusted time, and so that's why his appearance that is just a little bit behind the time schedule I mentioned. But he is ready for his presentation, and Dr. R.O.Stapf is the chairman of and chief of the Service Institute Japan, and he's talked about the comparative study of service management. That is, as I mentioned already, he will talk about service management for the manufacturing companies. So are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
So maybe 30 or 40 minutes talk?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You do this?
I have this. Voice is clear?
Okay.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor Anagawa, for the kind introduction. Now you know why I'm here and what's my name and what is my background. I'm really pleased to give this presentation today here to this audience. Some of you saw a shorter version of that already. So, it's about comparative studies of service operation, also in connection with innovation. The content of my presentation will be, what does innovation mean? And then, what does service mean? Because we're talking about both things. We talk about innovation, we talk about service. Then I will show you results, examples of results of the first benchmarking study which I did together with the German Chamber of Commerce in 2008. Then the importance, we'll talk about the importance of service within other departments of a company. And for students, this has also relationship to their career. And then I will come to the second international benchmarking study. For this one, I need support of, from some students. And at the end, I will wrap it up. So, what does innovation mean? That's the question. New ideas, yeah. Is there more about it? There is one definition. If you look up in the internet, you find a bunch of definitions. And I even found one thing where they say, it's very difficult to talk about innovation, better don't talk about it. Nevertheless, I will talk about it, and this is a very good definition of innovation which I found on Wikipedia. Wikipedia actually goes back to Merriam-Webster, but I like the wordings of Wikipedia better. Wikipedia is talking about a new idea, more effective devices, or more effective process as an innovation. And process is a very important thing, because the process actually makes a new idea to become realized. If you have a new idea, whatever it is, you have to have a process. Somebody needs to do something with that. And especially when it comes out of R&D from the universities. Universities are doing R&D typically on a high scientific level. I did it myself, it's a great time to be there. Yeah? But the real life at the end is on the street. And this is one of the big problems university products or university results have. They need to go down on a street level, because there is where the money is made of. Yeah? And that's where the research at the end of the university has to go to. So process is a very important part. I will come back to this term a while later also. Next question is innovation for everyone the same? Is innovation for you and me the same? I would say even no. And I will give you a simple example. Most of you might use a smartphone. I'm using an old one. So changing to a smartphone is for me already innovation, because I'm getting a more effective device. Yeah? So all depends basically on the start line where something is. This is the baseline for improvement, for innovations within that organization. So now, what is innovation in service? Let's look first with the definition of innovation as I just showed it. Now on the other side, I have the new idea. A new idea could be a new service offering, something which was not there yet. A more effective device, SMS stands here for a service management system. Tools for technicians. These are devices which can be more effective. Or a more effective process, which is an enhanced service workflow. This is actually where I'm seeing the reality, a huge potential of enhancement for service operations. The workflows are very, very poor. I have an example where the calculated benefit is 80%. So this means on the paper I can shorten the process by 80%. This will not be realized. If I end up at 60%, I'm happy. And I talk to the general manager of the company that says, well, 50% is a lot. Yeah? So I definitely will end up with about 60% shortening just because of enhanced service workflow. So innovation depends on the start line, I said. But this means basically we need to analyze service operations if we want to see what kind of innovations are possible, what kind of enhancement are possible in a service operation. And this brings me now to the question, what does service mean? Service has a very simple definition. Service is an activity done by someone for someone. This could be an individual service from me to somebody else, yeah? Or from somebody else, an individual to me. Or it could also be company to company, company to individual, individual to company. All kind of possible combinations is a service. So it's an activity. That's what we need to keep in mind. And an activity is related to a process. You know? Service examples. Waiter takes or delivers orders in a restaurant. A taco bin delivery as a service, because the driver delivers a parcel. A doctor examines or treats a patient. Lawyer advises clients, also service. Consultant advises companies. Teachers lecture about topics. Many of you are here professors, so you are a service operation. You are delivering a service to your students. And the company, this is a little bit more in detail now, can install machines, can repair, can maintain, and can advise users of machines on a better usage of that system or software, whatever it is. And this is actually the part of the service I want to focus on for the rest of my presentation. All the other ones above here I will not consider further on in this presentation. There are various forms of service, and the first form is field service. In the field service, an engineer or a service technician goes to the machine which needs service. The other form is a depot service. Here, the device is smaller, so it can move to the engineer for a repair, for a maintenance, for adjustments whatsoever. And the third one is neither a technician nor a machine moves. It goes only wireless or just over the telephone, internet whatsoever. Yeah? This is a typical example for that is IT support. In IT support, you can call a call center, and there will be a specialist at the other side who will guide you through your problem of software or hardware also. But this is a typical IT service. In reality, you can have combinations, but let's look at some examples. Installation of an air conditioner. Everybody knows an air conditioner. This is definitely a field service. No house will be moved to a company who is making the air conditioner, but the air conditioner is moved to the house. Repair of a PC. Here you can have a mixture. Typically, it starts with a remote service. You have a problem, you call, they try to help you. At the end, they find out something is wrong. An engineer or technician must look at the machine. This means either your PC will be shipped to the depot, to the service station, or an engineer comes to your place and repairs it at your site. Maintenance of a car. That's definitely a depot service. And then advice of correct and better usage of software application, in this case. This could be a remote service over the phone, over the internet, or it could be a field service that somebody goes on site where it's needed. Now, some examples. Let's look at this one. This is a big machine. It's about 4 meters long, about that high. This is definitely a field service. You can't move such a machine. Another example, this is here an anesthesia device from a hospital. This requires also a field service. You can't ship an anesthesia device. They're typically that high. This one looks a little bit big on a picture. In reality, it is that big. It's an emergency ventilator for human beings. This one will be shipped to the repair station. This one you recognize, this is a microscope, something like this high. You ship. This one is also a microscope, but an electron microscope. This is about 3 to 4 meters high and very, very heavy. With this, you definitely need an engineer to go there. So, just a few examples out of many possibles. Now, we need to look at the quality elements and the conditions of service. So, why is service important? The quality of delivery is important in terms of agreed time. You don't have to be as fast as possible. You have to arrive on the agreed time. And this depends on the service contract you have with the customer. So here what is very important is the workflow, the process again, the location of the engineer who goes, and the availability of spare parts. These elements really go into the quality of delivery. Then you have the quality of work. This must be done as fast as possible. Once the engineer is there, he should not waste his time and should be sufficiently trained that the job can be done very, very fast. And then the quality of pricing is another element. Pricing must be reasonable. So the value you get and the money you pay must be in balance. Beside this, every service operation has a competition. So these 3 elements drive customer satisfaction in service. And the customer satisfaction in service drives a purchase decision or a repurchase decision. Simple example, I had a nice printer, but the service was very poor. So when it finally broke down, I replaced it with another one from a different maker. And why did I choose that maker? Because I got from some reliable people the information that this company has a very reliable service. So my service decision, my purchase decision was really based on information I got on the quality of service. I will show you some examples from the first benchmarking study, which I made in 2008. This is the question. How do you rate the quality of the service operation as a key decision factor in your industry to successfully sell more machines or systems? That's the answer. We have an answer range from very important to very unimportant. It's only important, and 70% actually is very important. Now, the next question was, did your company lose sales projects in the past because customers were more satisfied with your competitor service performance? Now look at this one. This is a distribution from we never lost a sales project. On the other side, we know we lose, but we don't know the figures. And in between, we have some distribution with the figures. What this means is that 88%, so roughly 90% of the companies are losing sales projects just because customers are not happy with the service. And about these ones here, we never lost a sales project. Whoever worked in sales does not believe that sentence. But this is what presidents of companies here in Japan answered. So now, call management, a waste of time. Imagine the situation, a customer has a machine, he calls for help. So somebody needs to pick up the phone and needs to register the information which will be given by the customer who is calling. Some questions need to be asked, not technical questions, but general questions, and everything needs to be registered somewhere, ideally in a service management system. Yeah? For this, you only need a trained administrative person. This is the yellow chunk in the pie. Look how big this is. And look to the right side. There's the blue one. Service engineers are taking calls. A service engineer in Japan costs, good value, 12,000 yen an hour, total cost. An administrative person you can get for 5,000 to 6,000 yen an hour. So this is waste of time and money. This is really burning cash, what they do. And this is another example. Making an appointment for engineers. Yeah? An appointment means only, can our engineer come at that time? Does he have access to that? Is the time convenient for you, customer? Only the yellow pie is the correct one. Again, look at the big blue. The service engineer himself makes the appointment. Think also about where the service engineer spends most of his time. A service engineer spends most of his time either in a car while driving to a customer or on site of a customer. This means a service engineer is always busy with something. How can you take a call? Dear Yamanaka-san, oh, I'm sorry to hear our machine is down again. I'm now with your competitor. I let your competitor wait. I just talked to you. Is this reasonable? Maybe for Yamanaka, but not for the customer where he's just working. Yeah? And the same is when driving a car. How can you make a reasonable phone call on a car where you can write down some information the customer gives you? Yeah? An error message, for example. Yeah? How can you write down while driving? So, in general, results from the first study, the organization is very often wrong. Service is not really in the organization placed where it's supposed to be. Workflow and call management and response time. This is the biggest single item to enhance. It's unbelievable what kind of enhancement potential is just in the workflow. Service contracts, almost never based on customer requirements, because customer requirements are basically never asked for. We assume, or the companies assume, that the customer wants to have that. Yeah? But they don't ask, what do you want? And I made a few years ago a big project in Germany where we exactly did this. We really talked to the customers. We gave some of our ideas of new services, and they picked them up, these ideas. And this was a very successful project. Then, cost and free of charge service. Too much free of charge service is given. And very often, service operations are in red figures. That they look better Sometimes the financial people make some manipulations on the cost figures and calculate them profitable. But the costs are there. Who carries the costs? Somebody needs to pay them. So it will be somehow diluted into other departments. But it's not a real clear picture on the profitability of the operation as such. Then the influence of buying decision. 88% of the companies report they lose sales projects. And this can be a lot of money. Knowledge on competition. Service, key figures, service operations, almost not known at all. Service contracts of the competitor and the pricing of it, not known. And on the other side, what I learned from good salesmen is, if we ask the right person, if we ask the right question, we get everything. I know one a salesman, he had everything about his competitor, also in service. Customer satisfaction, that's also an important part. It's not regularly and not structured investigated. Thus, basically, it's unknown. You know? Improvements of the own service operation. 60% have headaches concerning, 60% have headaches concerning the profitability. Yeah? 70% expect more profit in service, and 75% of the participants are willing to spend money for external expertise to improve their service operation. In reality, when you come and talk to them, then this 75% goes down a bit. But the answer was really 75%. Then the importance of service for other departments. There is also a relationship to the careers of the students. R&D. Many students who are eager to develop new things, they try to work in R&D. R&D has to do the first step for a good service. Fast and precise diagnostics must be enabled or built in the machine. Then also a quick exchange of spare parts must be enabled. Depending on the construction, you just click something and remove it. Or you need a screwdriver 3-4 times before you can remove a part. So that's an important part. And also what is important is the adjustment of a machine. If you do a repair, depending on the system, you need to make some adjustments. So these readjustments must be made in that way that they can be done quickly and precise. Marketing. Many people like marketing because you can create new ideas how to market a product. A good service functionality also can be marketed, and this can be a very profitable business at the end. So an excellent performing service operation is very important for marketing, so really can use it. But the marketing people need to understand service, otherwise they will not be able to really promote it. Sales. Sales gets additional arguments. Dear customer, we have a good service operation, blah, blah, blah. These are our key figures. Yeah? Think about my decision about the printer. Think about decisions you made in your life so far. Yeah? Service is an important part of a sales decision. Finance and accounting. They also need to understand what it means a service operation and running a service operation, because otherwise they will not really calculate the right costs. So, knowledge of service, service business and service operation is important in a company. There's actually only one department, production. Production, I don't see much relationship between production and service. So, if somebody wants to work not in production, somebody better has a look and gets a little bit of understanding or more understanding of service. And the first three topics are really the important ones for sales. If they are good, the salesmen have a chance to do so. Now let's look to the second international service benchmarking study. What are the reasons for that? I want to understand how homogeneous or how inhomogeneous are companies in respect to the organization, to the workflow, to the element which is called install base, travel time, and workload. This is something which goes together, because when you have many machines in a market, you have a lot of travel time, and you have a high workload for your engineers. Yeah? So travel time can be reduced. The workload in terms of repairing, installing, maintenance, this cannot be reduced because this is technology driven. So then, spare parts stock and availability. Whenever I look into spare parts stock for a service operation, it's a disaster. Spare parts which are not needed for years are at a huge amount. huge numbers on stock, and spare parts which are needed are not there. Typically, I get availability figures of about 60%. 60% of all the spare parts are in Japan in this case. This is the meaning of 60%. The other 40% needs to be ordered. If you do it smart, you can drive down your stock and you can increase the availability to 98%. Don't try to go to 99%. This costs a lot of money. This little percent at the end costs more. Yeah? But if you have 98% of all the spare parts you need in the Japanese market, that's fine. This is a great job. You beat your competitors definitely on this one. Pricing and contracts. You have to do reasonable pricing. But if you perform better, you can be a little bit above your competitor. Some 10%, 15%, you can stay above your competitors if the performance is good. Then contracts. What kind of contracts are offered by your competitor? Ask your customer what they want to have. Customers want to have more than just a service contract for which they get a 5% discount. The question is already, what's the 5%? Or what's the 100% for which I get a 5% discount? Customer requirements and satisfaction. Customer satisfaction surveys exist, yes. The point is, how are the results of the customer satisfaction taken into improvements of the service operation? So very often things are asked, are you happy with our service? Yes, from the scale from 1 to 5. But such an answer does not help you to make any improvements. You have to ask the right questions. And you have to repeat the questions on a regular basis so you see, is there a tendency? Is there a change in it? The customer satisfaction results are basically the final result of any service improvements you do. At the same time, when you ask for satisfaction, you can also ask for the requirements. You can start test balloons. Do you like this idea? Do you like that idea? And then the customers will come up, even if they cannot express themselves what they want, they get ideas. And then they will pick these ideas, and you know what they want. Then I want to see a change against the previous study. So to see how has the service operations, or how have the service operations changed over the years. At the end, I want to indicate to the companies and industry associations the performance compared to competitors. It's all without names. In other or in similar industries. Readiness for current and future requirements. What I'm seeing so far is that even the current requirements are not fulfilled. When I'm thinking about a big topic coming up, which is called the Internet of Things or Industry 4.0, when I look at the service requirements in that field, this is tremendous. And I would say almost no company is ready nowadays for that challenge. Yeah, and then I also want to indicate to the companies what kind of enhancement potential they have, what they need to do. Now, companies to participate. All kinds of industry sectors. I have a long list here from automotive down to telecommunication, machine equipment, etc., etc. So it's basically over the full range of industry which has a service. And the origin of the countries, because we want to do this study now in two cases. One is a study in Japan and the other is a study in Germany. Same question, same survey. It's just one is a German version, one is the Japanese language version, but the content is the same of the questions. In Japan, I want to have 50% of Japanese companies, real Japanese companies, and the other 50% Japanese subsidiaries of foreign companies in Japan. In Germany, basically the other way around. So we have a good comparison on what's going on in Germany compared to what's going on in Japan. I'm really curious about this myself. So, and then we are discussing currently, it was an idea I had in a discussion with Ms. Gu, a combination of data and theory. Street level of daily business. This is where we run the survey. We really ask for street level data. And there is the Tokyo Metropolitan University, is the Shimomura Laboratory. They have developed an evaluation scheme for service operations. And I'm discussing with them now if we can use their evaluation scheme to do some simulations on that. This means we will adjust the questions based on this evaluation scheme. And out of that, we can make a ranking. What's the best operation? In the industry, in general, whatsoever. And at the end, because Ms. Gu is also a student of the Technical University of Munich, where they run operational simulations. Yeah? The theory and the data will be used to try to see how good this can be simulated. And the cross-check is possible. We have a possibility to verify the things. So this is still something which I'm just discussing with related people. This is not really 100% possible. Now, for such a work, I need support, and I also have an offer. My offer to a group of students, could be 2 or 3 students, is do the second international service benchmarking study with my company. This is the offer. Use all the data and the results for your university research, for the thesis, for scientific publications, etc. I will provide the personal guidance and coaching. So this means the topics are the 6 elements of a service operation, formation of a web-based survey, then how to analyze the answers. That's an important part. You have, at the end, you have a huge cube of data. And this needs to be sliced in the right way. So this is really something where I also can coach the people, can help them, guide them. And then publication of the results. What's the best way to present a result so that a reader of the result immediately gets the information out of that presentation, whatever it is. Could be a chart, it could be a table, whatsoever. Methods for doing so is, first of all, a face-to-face meeting. That's the most important one. Beside all electronic and digital world in which we are living, a face-to-face meeting is a very important one. Nevertheless, we also can do web-based meetings, sharing screen. I do this very often with colleagues from other consulting companies when we work together on a project. So we also this one. This means home-based working is also enabled. Nobody has to come every day into an office to work there. And then they can gain service management knowledge. And if they work with me for half a year, 3 months to 6 months, something like that, they will know more about service and service operation than most of the service managers do. Participation then in this comparative study with companies in Germany. This will also be a part of it. So, and there's also at the end a possible chance to be employed. The point is now, what's the work which needs to be done? Developing the survey, a good basis is given from the first study already, and I have a smaller study which I'm ongoing using, so we have a lot of questions which you can use. But it needs to be reworked. Then, the best answer type needs to be selected. Is it a multiple choice? Is it a radio button? Is it something with a comment, etc.? And also the adjustment of the survey logic, because you can always ask a long list of questions, but in between you can have questions which are not relevant to that person. So depending on the answer, you jump into a different branch of the survey, and this requires the setting up of a logic. Then it's about inviting foreign and Japanese companies. So contacting chambers, organizations, downloading and arranging email contacts, developing and sending announcement emails. These emails are very important because if you get an email, the sender has a chance of about 2 seconds that you really open the email if you don't know what it is. So in these 2 seconds, a reader must be so much attracted that he opens the email and reads it completely. And participates at the end in a survey. So working on such an announcement email is a very important and key issue. Then running the web-based survey. So this means creating a token list, writing the invitations, reminders, thank you mails, send out the invitations, follow up the returns. Analysis of the data. The first analysis can be done in a survey. So you have a question and you see immediately a distribution of answers to that. But this is only one dimension. Yeah? The more important is when you download the data into an Excel file, and then you have a data cube. And so depending on the answers, you can get different answers again. So that's an important part to be learned then. And then also displaying and summarizing the data. Which way is the best to show the results? Publishing articles on the results. So, generally it means a lot is to be done, a lot can be learned, a lot can be experienced, and a lot can be gained. The benefits for the students, learning from it in the real business world. It's out of the university, really going the first time into real business life. Then they can gain work experience in the international business community in Tokyo. So I will take them for several meetings along so they really can get a feeling of what it is, walking around a group of businessmen. Then service learnings, which I expressed already. They will know about the 6 elements of a service operation: customer satisfaction, requirement topics, enhancement potentials. And the learning about the survey structure question, web-based survey, slicing of the data block I mentioned already, and the best ways to display results. And there is something which is called IDF0 SATT. Just take it as a name. This is a workflow modeling method, which is currently still the most efficient one. It has been developed in the late 60s at MIT, later on taken over by the US military, and the US military published it in 93, 94. They published this one. This is, as I said, still the best method to record workflows, to develop or to enhance workflows. The profile of a student. First of all, it must be an open-minded person. It must be a person eager to learn something new. Interested in the international business world. Interested also in gaining insight into the consulting business. Learning about service and the service industry, the operations and the business. And it must be a person who is solution-oriented thinking. Problems pop up by themselves. You don't need to search for problems. They come always to you, unasked. Skills, definitely English is needed, because we have this dual study, one in Germany and one in Japan. And the core is the survey, which is first written in English and then translated into German and into Japanese. Also technical writing in Japanese is important, so that a person can write good technical Japanese. Knowledge of Microsoft Office or also LibreOffice or Apache OpenOffice is also fine. Then, let's wrap up. I talked about innovation, new ideas, more efficient devices, and more effective processes. That's an important part. And innovation depends always on the start line. Innovation is not for everybody the same. Think about my example with my mobile phone compared to your smartphone. Service. Service is first of all an activity. We look here into service activities of installations, maintenance, and repair, and give advice. We have 3 forms of service in this case. We have a field service, we have a depot service, and we have a remote service. Depending on the company, it could be a mixture of all 3. Oh yeah, before, I forgot one point here, the agreed time of delivery. That's an important point. The engineer does not have to be there immediately or as fast as he can. He has to be there in the agreed time with the customer. And this means you must be able to control your workflow. You must be the master of your workflow and not the workflow drives you. The work is such. This has to be in the shortest time possible because that's what the customer pays for. Yeah, and then, the things learned in the 2008 study is 90% of all the companies indicate they lose projects in sales because of insufficient performance of the service operation. And the yellow chunk in the pie is the correct part of the operation. In this case, it's the dispatching of engineers. Service has a strong influence or is strongly influenced from other departments in a company. The only one which I take out is basically production. So students should consider in which department they want to work and should keep in mind that this is service related, or there is a relationship to service. Then the second international service benchmarking study I talked about, we have general questions, we have questions about the organization, we have the 6 operational elements of the service operation, and we also ask about the enhancement situation. Many companies, it's broadband, basically all companies who have a service operation can be invited, and it will be international. 50 Japan, 50% Japanese companies, 50% Japanese subsidiary of foreign companies, and in Germany, just the same, mirrored around. Support is needed for that, and it's also an offer because it's a unique chance for a student really to learn about the international business world, and I will support this by teaching and discussions, etc. So at the end, a student can be the winner. Thank you very much for listening. If you have questions, please feel free.
Thank you very much. And first part of his presentation is based on his research, comparative research, and innovation, service management of manufacturing companies might be very important. So that is his framework. So that is the first part of his lecture today. And the final part is a message for recruiting the incoming student or professional who might be involved in his research. So this program, Grand Design by Japan, is an educational program at the same time as a research program. So his project just fit this program. So his remark is asking the students or people who might be interested in, he's open to that kind of the people. So that is what he mentioned. So we will have the discussion and the question and answer. So whom I should start?
Now I remember a statement when I was a student, mathematics first term. Professor told us, if you don't ask questions, it means you don't understand anything about my presentation. I hope you are an exception of that rule.
So actually, I'm this Miss Go mentioned by Dr. Stampf, who is going to work with him together. To this second benchmarking study, I have one question based on the part of opinions of the industrial companies about their competitors.
Yeah.
How do you rate these opinions? Because many companies might have no idea about the competitors' situation.
This not knowledge or the knowledge a company has is an important part. And then you have companies in the same industry. And then you see vertically, you see one company, you can compare what is the workflow compared to other companies. Yeah? What is the information about competitors' information? Some companies might know a little bit, some companies say we have no clue at all. So basically companies are vertical, and across you have the industries. Yeah? So from that you can develop an idea on what's going on in terms of competition.
So do you think there's a kind of relationship between the service quality and the knowledge of other competitors?
Yeah.
This is your assumption.
Sorry, then I didn't get the answer.
So
the question, sorry.
There is a relationship between the knowledge of the competitors and the service quality of the company itself.
Your question is, let me repeat it to verify it. The quality of the service operation
of the company itself,
of a company itself, compared to
has a relationship or is correlated with the extent of the knowledge of their competitors.
The answer should come here.
Okay, so you have this.
Yeah, I can't tell you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
So that's an important part. This is one of these slicing the cube. Yeah. Look at what is the information, or what do they say about knowledge of the competition, compared to then the operational elements.
Okay.
Yeah. This is one of these typical questions where you don't have a linear question, immediately answer, but you look to a certain answer and then you look into other things.
I I see.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you for your presentation. I can understand that service is really important for companies, but I think we have to think about the what kind of services are important and what kind of services are efficient, because the service is like investment
Yeah.
from point of the company.
Yeah.
And we have to find out the effect or results to the investment
Yeah.
from the point of the companies.
Yeah.
Because on the big investment and the small results or effect is not important, right?
Yeah.
But small investment
Yeah.
and gets big results is really good.
Yeah.
So we have to think about the how much the company invested for their services.
Yeah.
Well, so I cannot understand from your slide in the point of this.
The investment, you mean for in a startup, when a company starts and it builds up the operation, or it's in an investment in terms of enhancements?
I think let's say for example,
Yeah.
the company who want to do the good services,
Yeah.
they have to prepare the many service agent or many servicers, right?
Yeah.
But it will be expensive. The cost will be expensive, right?
Yeah.
But we have to think about how efficient
Yeah.
or how is the effect. So you measure the services, and I can't understand how much the effect is. So
when a company, let me just give you a real life example.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm currently a company into the Japanese market. They are selling products which need service. The machines do not break down that often. So theoretically, they would be able to fly in an engineer from Europe whenever there is a problem. Would this make a customer happy? No, exactly. This means investment number one, you have to have at least one engineer. Is it one or do you need more? This can be calculated. In this case, it is like this, that this company sold their devices into the Japanese market via a dealer, and now they are setting up their own operation. So there are already quite some machines in the Japanese market. So based on the service parameters of these machines, you can calculate what is the workload you have. Yeah? And out of the workload and the travel time, because of the location across Japan, you can then get a very good calculation. It's a bit more than an estimation. It's already a kind of a calculation, how many engineers you need and to which percentage your engineers are occupied. Yeah? And so you have to take all these figures into account and then build up. If you really start from zero, then you have to say, we need at least one engineer, because flying an engineer from Europe is too expensive, or from somewhere else. Did he answer your question? Maybe? keep asking until you're satisfied.
I think it's really difficult to explain. Well, I think for example, the quality is also important for the companies, right? The quality. The product quality.
Equality, yeah.
Quality, yeah. But sometimes the Japanese products are too high. They have a too high quality for customers, and compare with the Taiwanese products or Chinese products. And I think sometimes it doesn't so efficient for their companies. Yeah, they put the too big strength or too much power on the quality. So Japanese quality is really high, but the cost is, the price is so expensive. So they don't have any competitive
edge.
We compare with other countries' products. So the same things will be said to the service in terms of service.
You always have to look at the economy. Yeah, this startup company. Yeah, currently one engineer. He is basically the control unit. Yeah, he's a technical expert, But it doesn't go really to the customers. But there's around is a third-party service company which have then 2 or 3 engineers being trained. Yeah. So with this low costs, the whole market is covered. Yeah. And this is then where you need to look into the situation. Yeah. You can start the company and say, okay, we might be able to sell 3 machines this year, but let's employ 3 engineers. This is not economical. Yeah. You cannot get the money back somehow. Yeah. Or you must charge a huge amount of money just for a single machine. And then you lose against your competitor, price-wise. So it's the economy means always the balance. Yeah? Quality and price must match. Yeah? Yeah?
So this point, I want to say that.
Okay, good. Mm-hmm.
Presentation. I have one question.
Yeah?
Yes, okay.
Okay.
I have one question. Considering service, the customer's voice is very important.
Yeah.
But I see through this presentation and looks like that only the company's survey, not the customer survey. Will you do the further customer survey or customer's voice or something?
In this study, we don't look at the customers because we have a huge variety of industries and companies, so we can't go there. But if you really want to make for a certain company an enhancement project, one of the important questions is ask the customers about the satisfaction. Yeah? And when you ask for the satisfaction is just the keyword, you have to ask questions where you can deduct enhancement. Yeah? So, for example, do they complain about the availability of spare parts? Yeah? If they complain, then you know exactly there is a problem. Whatever the availability is, there is a problem. When they talk about, or when they complain about the time it takes from calling until an engineer comes, you have a chance to look into that. Is it your workflow? Or, especially in Japan, sometimes you have this, that the customer calls and 5 minutes later he expects an engineer to come. Yeah? Not even in Tokyo you can make it, because in Tokyo you have to consider 1 hour from one place to another. Yeah? So these kind of questions then need to be asked for a specific company and their customers. Yeah? In that study, we don't look at customer satisfaction in terms of, are you satisfied with your service provider? We don't look at that. Yeah? Yeah. Exactly, that's the point. Yeah? And here is the old sentence applies. What you don't make, you don't improve. Yeah? If a company knows, yeah, we lose projects because one says, yeah, I lost the project, so they lose project. But if they don't count and if they don't analyze why they lost the project, well, in this case it was service-driven loss of project. But then they need to really qualify that. Yeah? What is the company who is complaining, etc., etc. Yeah? And then this is then a start for enhancement. Yeah? And then you can calculate against it. I made some, it's this chart which you have in front of you. I made some simulation of this. This is a fortune which is there. This is really a lot of money. OKN is quickly done. Yeah? Because sometimes in the business-to-business world, you can have machines which cost already ichini OKN. Mm-hmm. There's a huge potential on enhancement in. Did I answer your question? Good.
Any other comments? Questions? So my naive question is like this. I'm thinking about the possibility of the Abenomics growth strategy.
Yeah.
And he mentioned that he targeted many industrial products.
Yeah.
There's no single service is identified.
Yeah.
Maybe the health service or that kind of service he may have identified.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking about the possibility to clarify the definition of your service. So health service or that kind of a growth strategy is a part of your research agenda. So that is my first question. And second question is, when I studied how the Japanese company respond to the Abenomics growth strategy, they are thinking about IoT or mega data or some kind of related stuff. But at the same time, it is very difficult to produce the single product or single commodity which can sell quite easily in a large scale.
Yeah.
But 70% of the GDP or 60% of the GDP comes from the service sector. And even if you target the manufacturing corporation, service is some kind of a cash-generating function.
Yeah.
And for example, the Canon is making more money in service than commodity or printers. And also, when you talk about computer company like a Dell computer, the price is very low of the PC. But when I find the service of the repair or that kind of the service management, sometimes 30,000 yen per year or 60,000 per year. And so I believe it is more profitable than selling the product. So just to clarify your definition or framework regarding that question.
Yeah. Let me take the one of the last sentences you said about making more money with service than with this. Back in the 90s, in the early to mid 90s, we made already calculations. We take a machine which costs several thousand euros, put it to the customer, but we sell it with a service contract. Yeah? And we get the money back just by the service. So if you do this profitably, you can do that. So from that point of view, Canon makes more money on service than on selling products or consumables. I can understand it. This is a very important part of it. So every machine breaks down. There are systems in the world, they are built with a high quality, with the highest quality you can imagine. But they fail. And you know all of them. Space shuttle. 3 of them did not come down in a proper way anymore. For the elder ones among you, you know about the Apollo problems they had. The famous sentence, Houston, we have a problem. This comes from Apollo. They had problems. Yeah? So every technical system you have has a certain probability to fail. And depending on the quality, the probability is higher or the probability is lower. Yeah? So service is always needed. And then what you mentioned, the healthcare service. Healthcare service is a chewing gum. What does it mean, healthcare service? Yeah? Is it just me going to a doctor? There's also a healthcare service. Is it me going to a hospital? It's also a healthcare service, it's already a different one. Yeah? Is it treatment and taking care of elderly people? That's also a healthcare service. So when you look at this, you need to specify a little bit more what kind of healthcare service you mean. Yeah? And in healthcare, I think there is a huge potential in terms of enhancement of processes in a hospital. This means not the medical treatment of patients. Yeah? It's just the way how a patient flows through a hospital and what kind of work is done in the background. As I'm sensitive to workflows, when I sometimes go into a hospital, I say, oh my God, this can't be done much more efficient. Yeah? I'll give you one example. In one hospital, I see the doctor. I check in with the cards. Nice. Push it in, push a confirmation button, get a small little printout that big. It says, this place, this room, this doctor at that time. Perfect. When I see the doctor grabs behind him, takes a vinyl sheet, there's a paper in, and asks me to carry this sheet to the checkout counter. The doctor never looked at that sheet. The doctor never made a note on that sheet because the doctor sees all on a screen and enters directly into the system. So what is that paper for? My name is there. This means when I check in, somewhere is a printout triggered, and this paper will be put in a vinyl sheet and moved to the doctor I'm supposed to see. And I carry it back. What for? Yeah? This is then the question which I'm asking myself in terms of efficiency in healthcare service. So in the administrative part, I think there's a huge potential to enhance in healthcare service in general. Yeah? Because keep also in mind, a service workflow is 90% is just administrative work. The only work which is really done is when an engineer diagnoses remotely, either on a phone or internet or whatsoever, depending on technology, a machine, or an engineer is really at the machine and working on it. The rest is just administrative work. And this is also very inefficient. You saw the chart before where the big chunk, just the engineers, are doing something which can be done by an administrative person. And the same applies then also in hospitals and also companies. It's not only the hospitals. Yeah. Okay.
Any further questions?
Here.
Thank you for your nice presentation here. Your presentation remind me the importance of innovation. Okay? Now, however, okay, from my viewpoint, what you mentioned about the innovation, it looks like improvement-like innovation rather than destructive innovation. Okay?
Yeah.
Because the reason why I said is to pay attention to the voice of the majority, to take care of the majority's requirement. I suppose that we can do a kind of improvement rather than the innovation. The most of the innovation, my view is that most of the innovation comes from the voice of the minorities.
The voice of the minority?
Minority. Okay? From that viewpoint, okay, your approach seems very effective.
Yeah.
To listen to the majority,
yeah.
To listen to a kind of to recognize the space of the improvement, okay, rather than destructive innovation. That's my view. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is that's all the important part. When you really think about innovations on a very high level. Or let me first come back to what you said before, improvements, innovation. Yes, an innovation could also be just simply called an improvement. Yeah? In this kind of service operations where they run inefficient, this is an improvement. For them, it could be an innovation. It depends on where you look at. The mobile phone example, the smartphone. So innovation could also be a part of improvement or can also be called just improvement. Now the minority. Yes, there is something in this sentence. The minority is, the way I understand minority is the free thinker, the ones who think out of the box. Yeah, what's new? But still, they're looking. What do they have now? They find start lines, but they might find start lines on a higher level, and go from there. Yeah. So it depends also very, very much on what is the start line.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the minority, these are also the important ones. Yeah. These are the Newtons, the Einsteins, and whatever they are called. Yeah.
But to accomplish the innovation,
yeah.
I suppose there are two types of that way of doing.
Yeah.
One is from top-down approach.
Yeah.
The other is from bottom-up approach.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, from the bottom-up approach, that I suppose your methodology seems to be working well.
Yeah.
But from the top-down,
yeah.
Okay, we need a kind of crazy guy.
This kind of crazy guy, this depends now. Yeah? When I'm talking with my former boss and mentor in service, he doesn't call me a crazy guy. If I talk to a company, they might say, that guy's crazy, forget about this idea. So it's again, where do you come from? What's the start line of the discussions? But the crazy guys are important. Yeah? The people who think out of the box have crazy ideas and have the power and the knowledge to realize them. They are important, definitely.
What I want to point out is don't miss the opportunity to listen to the voices or the way of doing by the crazy guy.
Definitely.
That's that issue should be considered. That's my message.
Yeah.
The other one is very crucial. Maybe within this conference, we can reach some conclusions. Okay? But, from my viewpoint, okay, to introduce automation, to introduce automatize everything, we can improve the efficiency. Then what happened is to reduce job opportunity at the manufacturing. Okay? Right now, as you pointed out, okay, there are so many less effective the job at the service sector.
Yeah.
If we can cut down 90% of the administrative issues, okay, probability that most of the job does not require so many the people, then we lose that job opportunity again. Okay.
Yeah.
To overcome such problem, we have to create new types of businesses.
Yeah.
While accomplishing innovation. That's my message.
Yeah.
How do you think?
Automation definitely reduces jobs. Yeah? When I started working in industry, it was the glass industry, a company like Hoya, not in Japan, but a company like Hoya, so I have a picture of what it is. And they produced at that time still the brown tubes for the monitors for TV systems. And the production was very noisy and very hot. Just going there to watch that made you already sweating. So in this case, automation is good because this is a terrible job for a human if they would have to do this handling. On the other side, the more when you go into an automotive factory, job killer number one is the automotive industry and all the automation there. Yeah? We would not be able to buy a car for the price we get nowadays, whatever it is, whatever car it ever is, for that price if we would not have a lot of automation there. Yeah? So new jobs also can be created. Yeah? Will be the same amount of new jobs be created? Hopefully yes, because we have the people. Yeah? So this is a problem of modern economy and industry and business. Yeah? The economy is driven by profit. Yeah? If the profit is not high enough, fire the CEO, replace him. Yeah? It's a little bit exaggerated now. But this is the point. And I know from a board member of a very big multinational company, he said we don't need to make 2 digits. Yeah? 7-8% is sufficient. Yeah? He only mentioned that behind a closed door. If he would have mentioned that on a board meeting, he would have been fired. Yeah? So profitability, automation, and the loss of jobs is an important part. Yeah? It needs to be looked at. So far, I have to say, and I'm happy about this, that whenever I'm running a project and increase the efficiency, that there is enough potential that we use the same people to grow the business. Yeah?
If there is something new, okay?
Yeah.
But in business.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, okay, the majority, we have already been satisfied with the current life. Unless we have a chance to get new abilities.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, okay, at such how should I say, developed countries, okay, everything exists.
Yeah.
So therefore, unless something new takes place around us, we don't have any chance to spend the money.
Yeah.
So it looks like a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
So whenever everything every production, every service might be improved.
Yeah.
Then we lose the job opportunity.
Yeah.
That's my concern.
Yeah. This is really true. This is really true. Look at so many jobs who got killed during our lifetime. Yeah, they just disappeared. Yeah? New jobs were created, definitely. For example, IT experts did not exist when we were young. Yeah, but now they exist like a standard department in a company. Yeah? One person or more, depending on the size of the company. So, enhancements is a job killer on one side. Hopefully, somewhere else can be new jobs created and pop up.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
But to create a new job, it's a real innovation.
Yeah.
That's my message.
Yeah, the new job. Yeah, that is also innovation. Definitely. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And now, so discussion between Natori Sensei and you are exactly this is a center of IoT Industry 4.0 developed by Germany.
Yeah.
Because German industry is focusing on developing new jobs.
Yeah.
On the other hand, so Industry Internet Consortium, so I'm from US side.
Yeah.
But exactly, yeah. Their way is exactly losing jobs.
Yeah. Industry 4.0 is a job killer also, definitely. Yeah? Because machines talk to each other. Yeah? You had people before talking to each other, now the people are replaced by machines. A few more jobs will pop up, but I think they will not balance the ones who get basically killed. Yeah. I see there a big threat in terms of losing jobs. Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome.
In Japan,
Yeah.
efficiency of the white collar
Yeah.
might be recognized around 60% as compared with the standard in the world.
Yeah.
Right? If the efficiency of the white collar in Japan would reach the 100% from the 60%,
Yeah.
about 40% of the job will be disappeared.
Yeah.
That's my biggest concern.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So therefore, at the university, we have to educate those people.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
Yeah.
we don't know the real target to
Yeah.
educate the 40% of the people.
Yeah. Yeah. This is it's definitely a problem. The disappearing jobs for the, you said white collar, so it's the other side is the blue collar workers. They will disappear. They will be replaced more and more by automation. Yeah, computer-driven systems, whatever it is then. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank you very much for listening.